Okay, right. What we're gonna talk about tonight, I'm actually really passionate about, so I'll just say sorry just now if I go for a tangent. That might happen. But I've got a wee sheet here to keep me about, so I'll try and stick to the main points. So it's chatting all about play, dogs play, playing with dogs. So the usual kind of thing would be 30 to 40 minutes, and what I plan to cover is what play is and why it's important, why it is important, why you should think about doing it, or doing it the way that we're going to talk about it tonight, the different types of play, and I'll give you a few little ideas of things that you can do and products you can use, and I'll give you a few kind of things to watch out for, to be careful about as well. So that's the plan. I hope we've all had a good day. I got absolutely soaked. It's absolutely pouring with rain here just now. And my darling, I was out with, first of all, I had a dog staying here for the last week and a half, and I did a wee handover with the owner today. So I had a tiny wee mini walk with her, and then I took Freddie up to see one of our old dogs that we looked after, and we did a wee walk together, and then I took my collies out, and then I did my horses, and by the time all that was done, I was soaked to my socks, and I had to get changed and put my hoodie on, and just chilled for the day. Anyway, hope your day was better. Okay, so play. I love play. I love the whole subject of dogs playing, because if you think about any dog with an issue, if you put them on a 10-acre estate or bit of ground, bit of concrete or whatever, like they put them on a 10-acre bit of land, secure bit of land, they would most likely self-regulate out of issues. So they probably would. So that's not practical for us in the human world. We can't do that. We don't have that land available. Don't know if you can see only self-regulating for the bone. The reason that my dogs are actually alright. They're quite okay trained. They're quite okay in the house. You can see them, and it's because I've got like probably about a half an acre garden and a bit of croft, and they just run around doing that, and we do specific play that kind of allows them to express their genetic needs, so that kind of comes as close to the ideal as I can bring them. So if you've got a dog with any kind of issues going on at all, then if you can do what you can, and we'll talk about the ways that you can do that, if you can do what you can to bring them as close to that situation where they're getting their stimulation and freedom as you can, then you're probably going to see a reduction in any kind of behavioural issues, because they're behavioural issues. If you think about it, it's not that they're doing anything that's in most cases it's not that they're doing something that's unnatural, it's just that they're doing something at a time that's not appropriate in a situation for us in our human world. So if we can do this, if we can play in a certain way with them, it kind of alleviates the kind of frustration that they feel by being in our human world of their expectations, which is a reality. They have to live in our human world. So, see, I'm debating already. Okay, stick to the points. Okay, so play. Yeah, most of the play that I would do with my own dogs is, I would say, it's most of the training that I do with my dogs, it would be through play, a wee bit through their walkies, and a relatively small bit through drills. So play is super important for training as well as their frustration. Don't think of play as like a reward. I see that some people think of play as something that you can do with your dog if your dog's really good, if you've got time, a wee bit of play as a kind of a wee treat for them. It's not. It's essential. It's an essential part of them to get their kind of genetics out, their genetic urges. Yes, it's an essential thing. Yeah. And okay, so the other thing I was going to say about play is it's actually really powerful. It's really, really powerful. It's, if you think about, if a dog is doing something, if it's got some kind of behaviour going on, but it's doing something you don't like, or it's difficult, it's probably because it's overexcited, or it's anxious, or there's some frustrated, or there's something going on. So if you can play the right way, you can actually regulate that. You can bring down their overexcitement, over-arousal, or you can do things to build their confidence in the play, or you can, there's all kinds you can do. And you actually, if you think about, say if you went to, I don't know, like a Zumba class or something, if you went to, or whatever it is you enjoy, if you went to a run or whatever, afterwards you probably feel good. You probably have endorphins pumping. You probably feel more like you can do more. You feel good. It's the same with dogs. If you can, put them in a nice playful state, you're kind of changing the way their mind frame is. So they could go from anxious and worried to being more happy and optimistic. So it's really, really powerful from that point of view as well. Okay, right. Stick with the points. Okay. Yeah. So doesn't matter. You might have a wee Bichon Frise or something. You might have a wee fluffy lap dog. You might have a German Shepherd. It doesn't matter what you have, because if you can, if you keep in mind that every single dog, regardless of what it is, it's at its core, it's an opportunistic. I don't know if you can hear that rain, or hailstones or something. At its core, they are opportunistic hunters, scavengers, foragers. That is at their core. Same as we've got values at our core, that is what is at their core. So all you are doing is you are providing an outlet for these natural genetics that your dog has. So okay. It's kind of similar to, I hear a lot of people saying things like, my dog hasn't got a good, or my dog hasn't got a play drive, or my dog hasn't got a feed drive. They do, it's just not been brought out. It's not been encouraged by their current routine, but it is there. They do have it. Okay. So I don't know if any of you have heard of the predatory sequence, but it's forefront of my mind. It's forefront of my mind in pretty much everything that I do with my dogs. There's about 8 stages to it. So basically every single dog has got this predatory sequence it goes through. So if you think about your dog, like sometimes if it runs around with your slippers in its mouth, or your socks, or if it kind of counter surfs your dinner plate leftovers, that's them letting out their genetic, or just this kind of the different stages of the predatory sequence, like themselves. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be structuring a kind of like a healthier outlet for them, a kind of one that you've controlled in an appropriate way. So it's not socks and it's not dinner plates, but you're giving them something more appropriate to do. Okay, so 8 stages. I was going to tell you about them. You've got your kind of your orienting a stage. So basically this is them kind of looking around, or not looking at this point, maybe digging for their prey. So if you think about a dachshund, they're natural hunting dogs. I know they're super cute, and they've become like a pet that people love, but at their hearts they are hunting dogs. So if you think about them, they've got big paddle feet for their size, they've got big paddle type paws for digging, and that's trying to orient the prey. So it's the same if you think about if you've got a dog and you find it super annoying, like digging up your flower beds. That's having that natural need for digging. So what I would do is I would always have like I've always got a dig pit in my garden, or when Freddie was younger, I would have like a sand pit, like in a fish box for him. Okay, so then you've got your kind of eye stage they go into. If you think about, probably a lot of people up here have got collie dogs, and you know what they're like, they can they stare at things, or whatever breed you have. Sometimes they do stare at whatever they really want. They're staring, they're in that eyeing stage. Then they might go into this kind of stalking stage. So they might be stalking. Do you know when they kind of point and they're stalking, they're moving slowly towards what they want? That's in the stalking stage. And then they go into this kind of running stage, which you want to kind of avoid. You want to kind of keep them in the kind of the stalking stage, or the stages before. We don't want them to go into the chasing stage. Yeah, and then they would grab their prey, and then they would kill it, like shaking it, trying to break its neck, kind of thing. So, darling. And then they would dissect it. So if you think about, like, sometimes a dog would get a hold of a cushion, one of your cushions, and they would actually pull apart. So you'd walk into the sitting room and you'd find your cushion with all the foam spread out. The dog dissected it. That is a natural urge that they have, and the consuming, obviously the consuming of the prey is the kind of final stage. So they're consuming. What are you making that noise for? What is it? Do you need the toilet? I think we need the toilet, please. Go down there. Okay. Right, hang on, I will take you out. I'm just going to have to go and put him down to Peter to take him out for his toilet. Otherwise he will cry. He's really good at telling us when he needs the toilet. Are you okay? Okay, I'll be back in a second. Right. What? He starts crying, he needs the toilet. So, where's the reach? So basically, yeah, as you can see to you, you can recognise a need for play, for letting out the frustration. If you've got a dog that's obviously frustrated, it's showing signs of reactivity, that's a sign. If it is, like we're talking about there, if you're walking into your living room and you're finding your cushions all dissected, that's a sure sign. If you find your dog's digging up your garden, that's a sign you need to up your playing. So okay. Yeah, okay. So I think that's 3 different types of playing. So I rightly or wrongly, that's how I think about it. So you've got your playing with an object kind of play. So that could be they're in the garden, that they're playing with a ball or something. They're quite content playing by themselves. There's play that involves you, which is my favourite, and I will tell you why. So that would be things like if you're playing tug with your dog. So you're at one end of the rope, dog's at the other. So that's play involving you. And there's also wrestling or roughhousing. So, I mean, dogs do that with each other, but I mean, they do it with us as well. They do, like, you can kind of like play with your dog and, I don't know, like grab its legs or something and might soft bite you back. Just wrestling about your dogs. So 3 different types I like to think of it as, and my favourite is play involving you. I think that's really, really important. So the reason I think it's so good is if you're involved in the play, you can kind of regulate how excited they are, so you can manage the play, because sometimes dogs get too excited and then they stop listening. So this is a good way for you to kind of practice what works for you about changing your dog's arousal level, the kind of excitement level. Okay. Yeah, if you think about how dogs learn, they're pattern finders. Everything you do, they're a pattern finder. So it's quite good. I like to use it for impulse control, this kind of play with involving you. I like to use it for impulse control because you can, like, say if you've got a flirt pole or something, you've got like a flirt pole for anybody that's not used one, it looks like a big fishing rod with a dangly toy at the end of it. So it looks like a wee animal, like a little animal that they can chase after, and it's quite useful. You can instigate the kind of chase stage, and then the dog is trying to actually capture the prey. So it later is genetics, but also, like, you can mid-play, you can say wait, make the toy go kind of dead, so there's no fun, wait, and then you can say get it, or whatever cues you're going to use. So it's kind of getting them to practice impulse control, which is really good if you've got a dog that's prone to being reactive. Quite often it's paired up with them not having great impulse control, or even like if you've got a dog who, if you've got a dog who pulls, they can't control their impulse to get to the side of the road where the smell is, or their favourite tuft of grass, or if you've got a dog that is trying to chase your cat, it probably doesn't have very good impulse control. So by doing this, by playing in this specific way, like for instance with a flirt pole, then you're really going to potentially be able to really improve your dog's impulse control. and you're going to really power up your cues, like wait and leave it, because a lot of the time that we get frustrated at the dog for not doing the right thing. It's because they aren't getting clear instructions, or they're not understanding our instructions more accurately. Yeah, they're not understanding our instructions. So by you playing like that with them, you're making a really clear understanding for them about what these cues mean. So that's a really, really useful thing to do. The other thing is by doing that, I'm using that example of flirt pull again because it's one of my favourite things to use. But I mean, you could do it with a tug toy or whatever. By introducing this weight and the impulse control, it's kind of teaching your dog as well that it's okay when you say wait, the fun carries on. I just have to wait for a few seconds or a few moments. It's okay, the fun's going to carry on. So you're kind of teaching your dog that through play. Okay, so I was going to tell you more about the toys that I would recommend. So some of these are just my preference. One of my preferred toys that I have for the dog, I know a lot of people don't like using. They think it affects their teeth. Maybe it does. I've personally never had a problem, but then again, my dogs are quite large. I think if you had a smaller dog, it might not be right for you. But I like using them, the horse jolly balls, and I only use them because I've got horses and I've got a couple of jolly balls around. And I discovered many years ago that my dogs really like them as well. And the way that I use them is for my collies. I find they can retrieve them because they've got a handle. They're like a large tough ball with a handle, and they're actually really useful for. They really like rounding them up, which I think is really good as well. The other thing I would say is good is I really like a ball and a rope. The ball and the rope is good because you can use it when you're out, and you could use it for retrieval. So like don't confuse retrieval with fetch, because fetch is just, I'm not a great fan of fetch, because fetch seems to just ramp up your dog's excitement and arousal, which is not great. You want to get its seeking system working. So what I like to do is I put my dogs on a sit. I mean, you could, if your dog's not good at sitting and staying, you could like hook their lead over a fence post or something, and you could hide your toy under a bit of whatever, wood or seaweed or whatever is lying around, and you could then tell your dog to go and find it. So that is quite a good thing to do with the ball and rope. You could also do tug, which is really important for them. Get their genetics out, and you could, even if you've got a body of water and you can swim well, you could throw it in the water for them, and it floats. That's another good thing to do. A tug toy. So the brand that I prefer is Tug Enough. I really like their products because they've got the bungee on them. They're quite tough and they've got a bungee. So it's quite good if you've got sore joints or anything. It's not so jarring for you. So I like them. The other thing I would do is, the other thing I would recommend is a couple of toys like balls. So I really like the chocolate balls. I like them, but you have to be careful about the size of them and if it suits your dog. Like, I have seen some larger dogs having problems with them and getting them stuck in their throat and thing, which you want to avoid. And I know that if you've got a smaller dog, you can get smaller balls. So you'd have to be quite careful about the size of the ball. But if you have two balls, basically, quite a good way of using play for training is if you have your dog on a long line and a harness. So they think they're free, but I mean, you could have them hooked over a fence post or something, but they've got about 100 feet of leeway. And you've got two balls and you throw one, dog goes and gets at the ball. Then you would show the dog you've got this other really exciting one, and probably 10 times the dog's going to run back to you to get this other amazing toy. You just swap it over and you would carry on like throwing the other one, and then you'd hold the other one up, dog would come back to you. So you would carry on this kind of, it's an automatic, like kind of like a wee bit like a fetch, but with a purpose, with training on it, with a real benefit to it. So they're kind of retrieving for you. So that's a really good way you can use that toy to boost your recall. If your dog doesn't recall that well, just get a couple of toys, a couple of balls, and do that technique with them. What was I going to tell you? Yeah, my favourite is the flirt poles. So you just go on Amazon and look up a flirt pole. I use the heavy duty ones. They're pretty good. And I have got a video on YouTube about how to train through play. I think I'm using one on the rope. I've got one on a flirt pole, which I will upload as well. Okay. So there's a few things I was going to say to you that are just to be aware of, like potential problems to avoid. Okay, you want to avoid with arousal anyway. So we've talked about that, ways that you can really manage your arousal level. So things like the flirt pole is really good for that. So if your dog's getting too excited, you can slow down the game. You can make them wait and then resume the game and really slow it down. So you can manage your arousal. So just be careful about getting them. You don't want them to be too excited. If you think about it, like the more playing you do, the more arousal you have for the dog, maybe the fitter it becomes, and the more you're going to have to train your dog to have breaks, like basically how to sit and how to wait and how to stop. So just be careful. It's not like a case of doing more and more playing. Sometimes you've got to kind of regulate how intensely they're playing, not how much they're playing, because all dogs need play, but how intense it's getting. I would kind of be careful about where you do it and when you do it. So, for example, I don't have toys in the house for the dogs at all. Outside, they've got the most great toys, and we play lots. But inside, it's all like chew toys or chewing things, Kongs, stuff like that, bones. Like I do give my dogs bones, like femur bones. It's just long-lasting chews, because licking and chewing is actually calming. So I want my dogs to be calm in the house. Therefore, I'm not going to give them stimulating toys, really exciting toys in the house, because I don't want them to be super excited in the house. That's for outside. So that's an example of being careful about where you have your toys. Some people would not agree with that. That's what I found. I've been retraining dogs for years, and that's what I found works for me. And that's what I would say to anybody as well. Yeah, be careful about when you do it as well. Like, if you think about if you went to the gym or something, you would warm up and then you would cool down. Same thing with dogs. Don't expect them to rush straight into like a really taxing play session. You're going to like build it up gently, and then at the end you're going to bring it down gently, and then you're going to mark it with. That's the other thing I was going to say actually about, if you've listened to these videos before, I like to label everything. So it's like before you start playing, I would say something like ready, and then when I'm finished the play session, I would say all done, and put the toy away. So you'd kind of like mark it with that. But yeah, you would have your warm up and your cool down. You think about it, just like, use your own kind of regulation. Just think what suits your dog. But just be careful about when you do it as well. Like, you don't want your play session to be straight before your dog comes in the house, because you don't want your dog to be super hyped up when it comes in the house. So middle of your walk or even like at the start of your walk, it might be better than doing it at the end of the walk. So hopefully that's given you a few ideas. The thing that I've got written down here that I have to remember to say tonight is, if you have any questions or queries, what you can do is, if you go onto the Spogan website, so just www.spogan.co.uk, there is a box on the homepage, and it says something like, if you've got a query, something like that, you can click on it, and I'll do a free, just like a 5-minute video message for you. So if you tell me what the problem is, then I'll respond to that. So I keep forgetting to mention that, so that's an option for you. Anyway, I think that's everything I was going to tell you about playing. So that's me. Yeah, just incorporate play with your dog every day. If you're not doing it, I would consider knocking 10-15 minutes of your walk and playing with your dog, with you being central to the playing instead. So if another word of warning is, if you do something like flirt pole or tuggy or whatever, don't do it for more than 5 minutes, because it's really taxing for them physically. It's really quite taxing for them. So, but I mean, you could do a bit of flirt pole, then you could do a wee bit of scent work games. That's really good as well. So another game that I would do with the dog, it's just not a toy game, but I would get a handful of kibbles, dried kibble, if your dog is okay with this, and I'd scatter it out in the garden. I know that some people aren't keen on allowing their dogs to eat off the ground, but it's something that I've always done. So I'd get a handful of kibble and just sprinkle it out in the garden and tell the dogs to go get it. And that's quite good. It gets their seeking system working as well. That kind of, I suppose it's their orienting stage. They're sniffing out their prey kibble. So there's a few ideas for you. Anyway, I'm gonna go now because it's only 8:45. Yeah, so good luck with it.